Welcome to episode 32 of The Industry Angel. Thanks for all your comments for episode 31. That was with Adele McClay. There was a whole lot of love for Adele. I got some fantastic feedback from you guys. Thanks so much for that. I shared it with Adele, and in her words, she was thrilled with your response. It really does help both the guest and myself, hearing how you find the show, how you found the particular episode. So please do keep in touch. We'll be drawing the competition in the next day or so for Adele's book. If you're quick, you might get a chance to win. You might get a chance to enter. You can enter via the usual channels, Twitter, Facebook page. You could drop me a line, industryangel.com. My email address is there. It's just host at. Sorry I missed a week's episode. I'll slap my hand again. Do you know what it is? I've actually had this one in the can for a week, but I've just been so happy, so busy. I am happy. I'm thrilled. I'm overjoyed. I'm loving it. I've been so busy with Far North, my company. It's taken so much of my time up lately, working with clients on their sites, which is great news. Lots of business coaching, web design, marketing strategies. I'm absolutely loving life, and I hope you guys are too. If you're thinking about starting your own business on your own journey, hopefully there's enough content here to support you along. If there isn't and you want to hear something else, let me know. If I can help in any way, just hook up. Drop me a line on Twitter or Facebook or wherever. Speaking of Twitter, I had a recent message from @HellsDeb asking what the coming topics are. Well, great question, Helen. Normally I like to keep these under my belt, but I'll let you know a few. We've got a certified Google partner who's also HubSpot inbound certified. He's going to talk to us about SEO. We've got a guest speaking about passive income and starting your passion project. I've got a live theatre entertainer who's been on shows such as Ellen. So, nice and diverse. I'm going to try and shape these episodes whatever you guys want to hear, so let me know. I've got an episode on lean we're trying to put together, which is something you guys wanted to hear. So, as always, let me know. Keep in touch. Today we have author, speaker, nightlife expert, Louie La Vella. Welcome to Industry Angel, Louie.
Hi, everybody out there. Thanks so much for having me. It's great. Hey, listen, everybody out there taking some time and a couple minutes to listen to this. This is fantastic. I appreciate it. I appreciate being on.
Hey, good stuff. Where are you joining us from today, Louie?
Toronto, Canada.
Oh, whereabouts?
Just outside of Toronto.
Come on. Hone it down. Where are you?
All right, Stony Creek, Ontario. About 40 minutes, 35 minutes from Toronto. If it's in traffic, it could be 4 days from Toronto.
I know exactly where you are.
There you go.
I've got family in St. Catharines.
Yes, okay. So I'm kind of like halfway between Toronto, St. Catharines, Niagara.
There you go. And a shout out to my cousin who's in Brock University.
I went to Brock University.
Did you really?
Yeah, so shout out to Brock.
There you go. Well, Sam's part of the rugby team and all her girls are doing really well. So there you go. I love it down there. It's excellent.
Yes, it's great.
I'm typically English. You've got to ask these questions. Where are you from? What's the weather like?
Exactly. And right now it's rainy.
Well, I've got the sun, so there you go.
Oh, there you go. Good trade.
So if I was to go on to louielavella.com or your Facebook page, the first words I would be met with would be, I build music brands and event marketing like a boss.
Like a boss.
Love that. Boom. That sums it up, eh?
It does. All right, podcast done. You guys got it.
So there you go. Where did this all start?
Yeah, so I started way back when I would say 17. You know how everybody has a part-time job, either retail, in a clothing store, or maybe a bartender or a restaurant. So I got into the bar nightlife industry like many people, but never bartended in my life. I got into more of the event planning and business aspect. So as people would expect, a very young nightclub promoter. In fact, I wasn't even quote unquote allowed to be in the clubs because the legal age was 19 or is 19, and I was 17 when I started. So it's kind of fun to be able to be in there and experience that nightlife aspect and be working for it and making some good money. So I started way back then. So that's about 20 years ago. And, I loved the industry. I always wanted to be in the entertainment industry, but, nightclub promoter wasn't exactly what I wanted to be for my entire life. So I knew I needed to start here, but forge relationships and find ways to level up every so often so that I can get to a point where I own my own business, whether I'm running my own concerts or festivals or television or whatever that is. So that was the starting days. And then, we'll chat about it, but to make a long story short, I got into radio, television, and now where I am today, where I am director of marketing for festivals, 25, 30,000 people, and working with musicians, and it's all my own business that I get hired by these clients and working with record labels, and it's a lot of fun.
Back in the day, though, you're talking about nightclub promotion, 20 years ago. That must have just been flyers on the streets, yeah? When we were kids?
Yeah, it was pretty much flyers on the streets. And, cell phones really were for, car phones or Wall Street people. So we really didn't have cell phones yet. They were kind of coming out because it's just kind of the 90s, right? Middle to late 90s. So people were starting to get, more reasonable cell phone kind of rates out there. And then I actually did get one very young, probably one of the first of my friends that did. But not everybody had them. So it wasn't really a piece of business in the nightclub promoting days in the very start, but it was very much, forging relationships with friends and flyers on the street, that kind of concept. And so that's where I realized, though, it was a great business. There's lots of money, but this is not what I want to be doing forever or for very long. So I very quickly decided to break out of just working for somebody else and making relationships with my own club owners and bar owners and saying, I want to run events here too. I want to be the head promoter and I can hire people under me to do the flyers. So I quickly moved, probably only a year or so, and I bumped up from the traditional starter nightclub promoter, which was fascinating.
Were you one of those guys who made everyone queue outside so the nightclub looks really packed inside?
I never liked that. No, and so many of them said, we're going to hold the line. And I right from the beginning of time for me, I thought, but aren't they going to realize when they get in that it's empty? It's not like, the week after week, they're going to be tricked. I don't understand where their mentality was. Oh, but it'll look busy. And I'm like, it'll look busy from outside though. Right. Sure. And of course, so I'm a business guy. So I was always very close with the ownership, right? Like I want them to make money because if they're making lots of money, I can charge more. And I knew that the cover charge usually went to the promoter. Sometimes it was split with the owner, but the liquor sales was the owners. And I always thought, if we're holding this lineup, they're not drinking, right? And that's probably why at a very young age, I broke free from the other promoters and did get hired from big nightclubs, like famous nightclubs, big ones in North America. And they looked at me like, oh, like you're not just working for yourself trying to make your own money. Do you know what I mean? You're actually concerned about my business. And that is probably one of those little basic things that kept me going and also in this business to this day. I wanted them in faster so that they can have fun, but also they can be drinking and purchasing, which makes the owner an extra hour or two of business, right? It's their pocket that's paying me in the end.
Sure. So you kind of cut your teeth locally and then you pushed out to the bigger cities?
Absolutely. Pushed out bigger cities. And of course, as the internet got bigger and bigger, email marketing came into play quite a bit. And then, of course, as smartphones came out in the 2000s and iPhone in 2007, all that kind of thing, everybody had one in their pocket. So all the messaging services and all the social media just took off. And I was always a first adopter to figure out how I can do business and do marketing with all these tools that keep coming out. And so same thing to this day. Social media is now the biggest avenue of marketing any and all of the events I work with.
What would you say the kind of biggest platform is? Do you utilize them all, or do you say, right, we're only going to use, I don't know, Facebook or Snapchat or whatever?
Yeah, I do utilize most of them, but the big ones are exactly that: Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, and Twitter I use as well. Maybe not in the advertising respects, but Twitter's still very busy with questions and answers and tiny announcements and things like that. A lot of listening. And then I can respond as whichever brand I'm working with. Facebook and Instagram, heavy on advertising. And of course, Snapchat, especially when we're doing behind the scenes stuff, is very big too. So I utilize them all because I know people are on them all, but I utilize them a little bit differently. I don't like posting the same thing on all 4 accounts because they're all on, the people are on all 4 accounts and they're seeing the exact same thing then. And then there's no reason for them to follow me or whichever festival, you know what I mean? It becomes redundant. So I'd like to switch up the same message so that it's exciting for them.
No, I think you said a key word, which was sort of listening. You obviously broadcast a lot, but you've got to listen as well.
100%. And that's a big problem a lot of people on social media have. They still use it in the traditional advertising sense where they're just pushing out all the time, whether it's a hard sell ad, and this is one of the reasons why I don't work with a lot of nightclubs anymore. Not just because of time, I'm working with festivals and musicians, but a lot of them still have that traditional, let's flyer the cars, let's do radio. And when they're on social media, they have that exact same mentality of let's make a beautiful looking digital flyer and let's just post it in every group possible. That's all you see on the Facebook page. It's just a hard sell out, and there's zero listening, or there's zero response or engagement, or there's zero social proof of the feeling you would get by being there, the experience you would get. It's just a flyer. And everybody realized that the beautiful girl in the flyer is not there. It's a model. And anybody can create a beautiful flyer, but it doesn't show you the actual experience that you're going to get in the club, because you're not showing the real club, right? So, and a lot of businesses do the same thing. They're just pushing out, buy my whatever it is, book, product, coaching, anything like that. And there's no listening or engagement, or here's info first. This is why I'm an expert. And then they might come to you, right?
Sure. I mean, we know how big email lists are. So do people utilize your list or?
Yeah, I mean, for every one of the venues I work with and concerts, there's always a huge email list. I mean, I find that people are on social media so much, and again, this is because at that consumer age group, even when we're sending out email blasts here and there, we do get some engagement and whatnot. But we get great open rates, but I feel like that the ticket sales happen because of the social media. Because what I do is I like to layer my social media advertising. So what that means is I'm not just announcing, oh, this big artist is coming at this festival in June, and that's all I do. Like, I will layer things. So, you'll get something that's camping related, and some photos on how great the camping is and great designs. And then, we have a water park. So we'll have, so I'll layer everything so that you see it several times, but not the same thing. You're not getting burnt out. You're seeing several different angles and experience angles for this one festival. So eventually you're like, looks great. You know what I mean? And they purchase.
So what do you think about different types of music, and what hits the spot? Dance, rock?
I'm a big fan of all kinds of music. Not a huge fan of country. Not the biggest fan of country. There's only so much room in my head for the styles of music. Definitely dance and house music was where I kind of started my business and as a promoter. So I kind of lean on that as one of my favorites. But I do like some rock and pop music, and I think if it's catchy, I like it.
Don't you have a country festival near you? I'm sure there's a
Boots and Hearts is massive. I think they get
that's the one.
People. It's really big. A couple buddies of mine, they started it, they founded it, and
really?
It grew really fast. And country is a huge demographic and huge market in many cities. And around here, that's the only one big festival, and they sell out so quick.
Sure. I know my family have just been to, what do they call it? Grape and Wine, is it?
Yes, in St. Catharines, at Grape and Wine.
Yeah.
That's always a nice, and of course they have rock bands and local bands in I think it's Montebello Park, which is the local park, and they fence it off. And now Grape and Wine, the whole city gets involved, which is kind of cool, the whole downtown core. But many years ago, they used to have the bands in all the bars, and you used to be able to roam in and out of the bars, and there was a big beer tent and whatnot. But now they've kind of put it all into one, I guess, package at the park. So you kind of pay your little entry fee and you're in the fence and stuff like that. So the bars around it still have things going on, but they've lost, I believe, a lot of business compared to what it used to be, because it used to just be like an open, hey, downtown, as opposed to, hey, downtown, come to the park, right?
Yeah. Well, that's a great segue into something I was going to ask is, what are the big mistakes that people in your industry, what do they make? Yeah,
and for that, as probably as an organization putting together that festival, now they make money because they have it secluded to one area. They get to have a little cover charge, and everybody, probably security wise, it's all in one. So as an organizer, I think for them, they thought, good move, let's put it all into one area. Unfortunately, for the bars around it, they probably don't get as much overflow, because when you're in there, you want to be in there, right? You're kind of fenced in. You don't want to leave. And we used to roam around from bar to bar. It was a lot of fun. Big mistakes people make, I think, not changing is huge, especially in my industry. And like I mentioned earlier, they're still stuck on let's make flyers or let's buy radio. And then they complain to someone like me, we spent 40 grand on radio and it's not working. Oh, sweet. So when did you stop? Oh, no, we're still doing it. Do you know what I mean? I'm thinking, what the hell's wrong with you? Things like that, or not doing any marketing. They were spoiled by having everybody, maybe 10 years ago, everybody was going out. So you can have a Tuesday night and you can have, you know what I mean? And it was a lot easier to open a club or a bar and have people come. It was quite, a lot easier. And they got spoiled by that. So now as things changed and user behaviors are different, some people would rather go bowling. They'd rather go to, the pizza place with their buddies and have beers, or stay home and play Xbox, or, go see a movie. Like, they're okay with doing different things. It's not just let's go to the nightclub because that's the cool thing. So people's behaviors changed, and the nightclub owners don't get that sometimes. They think we have this beautiful club, or we used to be so packed, but they don't change, right? They don't offer any experience. They still think about, like you mentioned earlier, let's hold the line up, and all these old school technology or techniques. And with technology, people are just messaging each other while they're holding a line, but it sucks inside. Well, let's leave then. You know what I mean? People will make their own party and say, well, let's go to that bar. We get in and we're totally fine with us 20 people, and we'll drink. It's cheap, you know what I mean? Cheap over there, and they'll leave. So these nightclub owners are not thinking, and they're not changing. And when they research or they talk to someone like me, it just doesn't resonate. They just don't want to believe that things have changed, and that hurts them. And most of the times they go out of business.
I mean, you mentioned there about, I think, did you say it was 25, 35,000 people that you've worked at some venues? Do you prefer the bigger ones, or do you get a big kick out the smaller ones kicking on?
I like the bigger ones now because because I've done the small to medium sized ones, the couple hundred people, the 2,000 people, and they're still lots of fun. But I think doing the same amount of work that I have to do for them that I do for a festival, I have a little bit more team I can hire on. There's obviously more money involved because it's a large festival and they have bigger budgets, that kind of idea. And to me, it's now I want to level up again, right? So I'm at the festival stage where I get to be on stage and look out to 25, 30,000 people and go, wow, like I was an integral part of making this happen. This is pretty cool. So I really like that right now. It's a lot of fun.
So if you had a dream project, what would that be then?
I think getting back into television. I did television for about 6 or 7 seasons. It was like an MTV where I produced music video countdowns, and I produced magazine style shows where I would go interview people. I interviewed Lady Gaga and Richard Branson and the Backstreet Boys and so many different people. And that was a lot of fun being on television. It was a lot of fun. And
I did notice how much fun you had with Lady Gaga on mine.
Yeah, she was great.
That microphone was pretty close to her, man.
That was her first television interview as Lady Gaga.
Really?
Yeah. So the story is we were in Miami recording, the event that was going on down there, and we had a lot of big name interviews that we were doing. And her manager came up, and PR rep came up to us when we were on break and said, there's this new person that just got signed to Interscope. And, she's now gaining as much exposure as she can. Obviously, she's going to explode very quickly. So do you guys want to do an interview as well? And we're like, oh, man, we got this other interview with this famous DJ. I think it was David Guetta, actually. And we've already done a Guetta interview, I think the year before. And we're like, I don't know if we don't really have time. And she's new. I don't know. We listened to the song. It was Just Dancing. We were thinking, you know what? It's a great song. I'm sure, with Interscope, she's going to blow up. She'll be huge. Let's do the interview. And so we did it. It was great. Very nice girl. She did a quick performance at the private party. And, within a couple months, she was huge. So thank goodness for us having that, that 2020 vision in the future by saying, let's not miss this one. Because sometimes you say, I don't have time for this. And she's a superstar. We tell the story as how we missed that one. So it was great that we got it. And I got to say I interviewed Lady Gaga, right?
Yeah, and also our Richard Branson as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so that was fun as well. A super nice guy at Virgin Fest here in Toronto, which they don't do anymore. But he was down that year, and we were, again, interviewing people. And we were in the VIP area and sitting down, taking a break. And he sits down beside us with his PR rep, and we're chatting for a bit and how we're doing interviews. And I just said, Sir Richard Branson, can I get a 5-minute interview with you about Virgin Fest and being in Toronto? And he's like, usually you have to go through PR and lawyers. He looked at his PR rep. She's like, yeah, sure. He's like, let's do it. So we got up right there, had a quick 5-minute interview, and it was lots of fun.
Brilliant. I know you mentioned somebody else there. I was going to give you my commiserations, the Backstreet Boys. Yeah. What on earth happened there?
Yeah, it's twice I interviewed them. One, I interviewed all of them. Another one, Nick Carter. And they were lots of fun. They had their concerts in Toronto. And I was one of the producers of the after parties, which they came out and did mini performance. And they were super nice guys. And Nick Carter interviewed him a second time as well. And he loved doing my interviews because, same as how me and you are going. We just go with the flow and whatever pops up, you know what I mean? Like, we just just say our thing and ask questions. And yeah, I guess he's used to the canned same questions over and over and over again. So yeah, he really enjoyed the fluidness of just chatting. You know what I mean? It was great.
Oh, that's good to hear. I think it'd be pretty painful, like in my mind, interviewing a boy band, but you know, they're probably just regular guys, yeah?
They are just definitely regular guys now with tons of money and yeah, and enjoyed themselves. You know, they enjoyed themselves throughout their career. I mean, I think they sold a couple 100 million albums. Like that was,
Oh,
you
that's
don't see
mad.
that at all anymore.
Yeah, you're right, you're right. So, you know, going through your experience of what we just, you know, you must have seen some real hiccups though. You
Yeah,
know,
there's
or dropped a clanger, as we would say
you
in
got
Britain.
it. It happens all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes you're in the middle of this massive concert and people are like, "Oh, this is a fantastic show," and in your mind you're thinking, "Yeah, but I lost $25,000." You know, for some reason, or maybe just you needed 3,000 people to be there, and you got 2,900 or 2,500, and then something else happened, and you're thinking everybody thinks this is a great party, and it is, but I lost lots of money, or I've had times where the back line, which is where the instruments need to be ordered, and somebody else says they have it. You know what I mean? And you get there, and it's a holiday, and they don't have it. There's a drum kit missing, and you're thinking, where am I going to get a drum kit on Canada Day? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Everything's closed. And these guys are not going to go on because they don't have what they need. And then you scramble a bit and you try and get friends and who's in a band. I need a drum kit that looks like this. And eventually it comes together. But the cool thing is when people come to you, they have no clue what's going on, right? And you just kind of smile and, hey, enjoy the party. And in the background, you're thinking there's massive fire that needs to be put out, but you put it out and you keep going.
So you just mentioned there about 2,900 to 3,000. So is that how you're targeted on numbers?
I like to target myself. 50% is going to be my break even. So if I need 3,000 people at 1,500, I've already broke even. The rest is profit. But sometimes you're working with other venues where they just hire you to come in. You know what I mean? And their numbers are just not there, and they've already started the ball rolling. And they're like, "We need help. We need help. We're not making money." And you look at the numbers, you're thinking, "Well, no wonder your ticket prices are too cheap, or whatever it is, right? Your expenses are through the roof. Like you need to almost sell out to break even." And again, some of these club owners are thinking, "I'll break even on the show because I'll make the liquor." But I'm like, if you don't have 200 extra people, you may lose a ton of money and your liquor profits are gone now too, right? It doesn't make business sense.
So is that where you come in, Louis? You know, from a consultant point of view, do you engage with some of these, festivals and sort of help them around this area?
Yeah, absolutely. So a lot of them will peg me off as just marketing because that's my expertise. But because I've done concerts even on my own, they'll also bring me into the round table every week and say, where do the porta potties go? What's the fencing? Like, what should that look like? Let's look at actual numbers. Like, what do you think break evens would be? Dealing with the city, how's that? So I become a full rounded event producer with them, even though my expertise in my department is actual marketing when I'm getting down to the dirt. But, absolutely in the meetings and in the consultations, there's a lot of questions on just the operations and the sales of it.
Would you ever fancy coming over to Europe?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I have my European Union passport, so I can come over anytime I like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously there's a lot of big dance, nightclubs and things.
You bet. And you know what? I do have some on and off venues from the United Kingdom and from France and things like that they call me for consultations here and there. And absolutely, a lot of musicians that ask for help or buy my courses, they're all from Europe. Most of my clientele is from the United States and Europe. It's funny that I don't have or do as much in Canada. I have 2 festivals here and 1 nightclub, and the rest is in the United States and Europe, which I guess just because of the size of the markets, but just also the way that they are excited to try new things and to learn. I guess the markets there are a little bit more receptive to, yeah, no, we need help. A lot of the clubs I work with out here, unfortunately, believe they got this, even though there's nobody in their club and they don't want to try anything new. And sometimes that hurts them a lot. Or, I've had meetings and then 4 years later, I peek my head in and it's still the same management, same bartenders, same dead club. And I'm thinking, you don't have to hire me. That's okay. I'm only one guy, but at least do something. And they don't do anything. And I'm thinking, man, you're going to be out of business. And I gave you free advice. I've hoped that maybe you took that and did some of your own research and did something. And these guys did nothing. I see that a lot. And it's just when they go out of business, I'm not surprised, right?
Is this from a marketing point of view, Louis? Is this the sort of the low adoption rate in social for some of these nightclubs?
Yeah, I mean, all of them are on social media. They just don't do it properly. Like I mentioned, they'll have their Ladies Night Friday, and that's all they post. You know what I mean? Or they don't do any of the advertising. They just hit boost and they advertise across Canada when they know it's just a local market, that kind of idea. And, sometimes the biggest problem is the product itself. You go in there and you're thinking, well, you're trying to be a nightclub with dance music, but you're a bar. You know what I mean? Like, I don't
Yeah.
understand where you just think, well, the bar down the street, they play all house music. So we want a house music DJ and we're going to take their crowd. No, that club down the street has LED screens and lasers and they're a nightclub. You're a bar and you think just by sending the $100 DJ is going to start clawing people away? That doesn't make any sense whatsoever. It's the experience is just completely upside down then. That kind of idea. Or, the bartenders are still on their phones and we get review complaints all the time. Well, then fire them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Well, I can't. They've been with me for 3 years. And I'm thinking, look, you're ruining your brand because they are being lazy. Even if the bar is busy and they're like on their phone and people are waiting to get a drink and they're complaining, that's your money that's not going into your pocket. And they're being very lazy as if, they're entitled to be behind the bar and people should wait for them. They're bringing their money, their hard-earned cash into spend. They need to be, entertaining and hosts. They have to be hosts. Same with doormen. I see so many doormen that are just, I always tell them, you guys are our first hosts.
Sure.
Even though you got to do your job, but do it nicely, right? You don't want these cowboys and these, I'm going to wait the line or you're not good enough to come in here. You wreck the club and the brand so fast, and then it's a problem. Then it's not easy for me to fix, right?
You mentioned something there about boosting. So we're talking Facebook ads there. So is that something big for you guys then? Boosting ads?
Absolutely. Like, I spend majority of budgets is boosting or creating dark posts on Facebook and Instagram. That's really
Okay.
where, and if somebody's like, look, we have an ad budget and what do we do with it? Majority of the time, it's going to be done through the social media platforms, those two. And of course, Facebook owns Instagram. So same guy, right? All goes to Zuckerberg.
Sure.
But absolutely. So there's a big difference between whether I boost an actual post on a page or whether I create a dark post. And some people may or may not know the difference, but a dark post is something that still shows up in the news feed as if it came from the page, but it is not on the actual page itself. A great way that I use that is if I'm doing a happy birthday promotion, so I can target people having a birthday this week. Happy birthday, come get bottle service at the club. And I don't want to post it on my page because then I would have to post it every week. And it would just be redundant content because people who see it will be like, it's on my birthday, stop posting this garbage, right? So if I make it a dark post, meaning I make it as just an ad, it shows up in the news feed during somebody's birthday week. And then they stop seeing it for the rest of the year, which is kind of cool. Now, things that I do post, let's say an artist is coming out or, whatever. Here's the photos from this weekend. That can go on the page. And if it's getting some decent traction, I may want to boost that to all my fans because we know organic reach sucks. So I may want to boost it to the rest of my fans or also boost it to people who are not my fans that maybe would like to be my fans. They like dance music. They like nightclubs. They're from our postal code, that kind of idea. So there's different ways to utilize the ads.
Sure. Let's drill in on them demographics, though. You mentioned there about birthdays. Who are you looking for? Who do you target?
Again, it depends on the club, let's say. So if it's a nightclub and, and here's a funny thing too, when I sit down or have sat down with nightclub owners, that's my first question is, who's your demographic? And they all have the same generic, it's guys, girls, they kind of like vodka. And I'm like, that's so basic. What kind of vodka? Oh, they kind of like vodka and rum. It's probably half and half. I'm like, it's not half and half. I'm like, go get your reads. Let's look at your actual sales. I bet you any money it'll start being certain brands. That's just the people you have here, right? And take a look at the age demographics because, they just see a generic outlook on, it looks like half and half and they drink everything. But that's not true. And then when we see that, then I can say, okay, these are the people that come out here and like it here. So now we can use this information to actually target them. I know they like whatever, Smirnoff vodka and Jose Cuervo tequila, which is kind of gross, but right. Like they like certain brands and they're an exact age demographic. They always say, well, I don't know, I want the upper class. Give me 24 to 35. And then I say, look at the actual people in here. They're all 27 to 29, all of them. That's the people that have here. So let's not go so wide. A 35-year-old maybe is not coming here. A 21-year-old doesn't want to come here. But 21 to 27 is a very different gap in now user behavior and maybe the music they like. Yeah, you're going to have some of them, but you're probably getting a lot of the same guy, that 80-20 rule, right? So I really try and dig down into who is your customer for real And then now let's use that to our advantage.
I mean, that is a great tip just for any business, isn't it, Louis?
Absolutely. Any business, any business. Like so many businesses I work with, I'm like, okay, cool. Who's your customer? And then it becomes
Sure.
generic. But I'm like, okay, you got a starter. Let's really dig deep and dig deep and dig deep. And then you start finding out a lot of things about your customers. And if you can get that data and you know the customer, then you can market properly. You know why they're buying, you know the age demographic, and you can target your ads properly instead of the old school way of casting this big wide net. Like on radio, let's say, you can be on dance music radio, but it's such a wide net. You can have moms on there still, teenagers. You can be all over the map, right?
Sure.
And then the problem is you're spending dollars, and a lot of it is wasted dollars. If you can be very focused and targeted, your dollars go a lot, stronger in a longer way.
Brilliant. You're really just sort of echoing a lot of the guests we've had on the show before, Louis, really, in terms of niching down and being really specific on who your avatar is, who your customer base is.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's because we have that opportunity to do that now. We've never had this opportunity. I think it's super important to do and exciting to do because you can just target the right people. Even for myself, I want to target, musicians that have money to spend, right? That want to come on as me to develop them and get them to a label. In festivals, when I did more bars, I was able to target just nightclub and bar owners in the United States, let's say, and they make a certain amount of money, and show them my mini 5-minute webinar and show them some articles I wrote in Huffington Post and all this kind of stuff, just to prove that I'm an expert and here's some free information, and you guys go execute it and see how it works. And then they're like, cool, this works. Louis must know what he's doing. And then, I would get phone calls in or emails and scheduled calls in for help. And then I would close them. But it was very targeted. Excellent. I don't know any other way, if this was 20 years ago, unless I was in a trade magazine, which would cost probably tens of thousands of dollars, right? That would have my ad. I'm a promoter, a consultant, kind of idea, right?
Yeah.
But now I can do this, and I can actually not just have an ad, I can share information so they can actually look into it and see that the information sounds right.
So you give a lot of content away, Louis, yeah?
A lot of content. I think as a personal brand myself, and I think every business is a personal brand, whether it's you as the web designer, you as a flower shop owner, whatever it is, we're all personal brands now, especially because of social media, right? We post our food on Instagram. So we're all media companies now. And so but for me, it's always strategy. So I'm not going to just post this burger I'm eating or something like that, unless it has something to do with my strategy. So everything I post out has to do with some either information, something to take away, a quote that I've said or that I believe in, or social proof. Here I am. Here's the big, 30,000 people in front of me. This is my festival. So other people who might be potential clients take notice that this can be done. This could be you. And, I'm a part of it. So maybe I'll want to be a part of yours. So between those things, a lot of content goes out.
Excellent. These are great takeaways. And obviously, I know we're talking about the music industry now, but they're so relevant to just business in general. So that's a great takeaway. So before we go, Louis, I want to ask you just one more question about music.
You got it.
You must get musicians sending you music and asking you for help, surely, all the time.
All day long.
Yeah?
Yeah, absolutely. I actually just put together a free 4-video course on, how to get your brand on point and how to actually pitch, because I would get anything from the one-liner, like, yo, my music's sick, I'm going to make a ton of money, here's my links, right? And I'm like, what the hell?
Sorry for that email, mate. I shouldn't have sent that to you.
I'll listen to it soon. Or the 12 paragraph cut and paste EPK of your entire life story, and it's in my Facebook Messenger as well. And I'm just like, it's constant messaging, and I'm thinking, what do I filter through? So I'm, to me, the EPK, the traditional EPK is dead, like the PDF and the 12 paragraphs. I'm like, just 2 paragraphs. Connect with me. Louis, I love your articles. That one on Snapchat was awesome. I used it over in, St. Catharines, and I'm getting people following me. Sweet, you're awesome. Second paragraph, I'm building a local following. I get the music business. My fans are super, they engage me like crazy on social media. I need to step it up. Here's my link. And I don't want the link to the PDF EPK. I want your social media. That's your new EPK. What's your social media world doing? Do you know what I mean? And that's it. And then I can filter through, and I can, you know what I mean? Same thing with DJs trying to get on the festivals. This huge, long-winded 12, 15 paragraph. And it's like, I'm sure you're an awesome DJ if you're trying to be on a festival, you know what I mean? List. Like, I'm hoping you're good. Otherwise, please don't contact me. So there's a lot of great musicians, and there's a lot of great music and a lot of great DJs. When you're at that level where you're good, then you need to find an audience. And that's kind of what I do. I help build audiences for festivals or for musicians. Like, hey, you can make a ton of money with just 1,000 raving fans, that will buy your stuff. You don't need to have 1 million fans. When you get to those numbers, yeah, it's more money. But you don't have to, wait around for Sony Music to bring you on board. And, you can do it yourself by building an audience and building fans. And then when your music comes out and your gigs come out and your merch comes out, some people buy, and that puts money in your pocket.
Quality over quantity, yeah?
Yeah, absolutely. Because look, I'm an admin on a ton of very high-end and very A-list celebrity Facebook, fan pages, and I see some that have millions of fans with less engagement than ones that have 1 million fans.
Sure.
They may have done who knows what. They may just have their Facebook ads rolling and just getting people who like, the style of music in. And then they grow their fan base, but just for optics, I mean, some people used to buy off of Fiverr or whoever, 10,000 fans. It looks good, but again, you have no engagement. You just have to engage. Like, you have to show engagement. When you put something out, there's people who talk back. Those are the people who are listening to you, right? So if you have 10 million people on there, but you don't have the engagement, again, you don't really have a fan base, right? It's not as big as you think it is. So.
Excellent. Well, Louie, that's been a great insight in the music business, and I love this show being diverse. And I think you are one of those speakers, but still has something to offer in the business world. So thanks very much for that.
Oh, thanks for having me on. It's great to and I do a lot of podcasts now, and none of them are in the music industry. Because you're right, I think that it's kind of fun stories, but some of the, and probably most of the concepts or things that I'm doing in the shark infested waters really translate well to any industry. Like a lot of these things, how to engage and building a fan base. Like it resonates across all industries, which is kind of cool.
It definitely does. And that's why we're speaking today, Louie. So thanks very much. It's been brilliant.
Thank you.
Thanks to Louie La Vella there. Can you remember the day when you could say that you were a nightlife expert? If you've been to a nightclub in 2016, raise your hands. Yep, I thought so. About 7 of you. Can someone organise an Industry Angel night out, please, and we can show them how it's done? But isn't it great, though, whatever ship you choose to steer, it often comes down to the same business approach. So no doubt Louie's helped businesses, whatever line they're in addition to his music and events expertise. I really enjoyed that. Let me know if you did. If you enjoyed it, drop me a line, host@industryangel.com. Remember to review this show on iTunes. If you didn't enjoy it, let me know how I can make things better for you. I've got thick skin, don't worry about it, just let me know. So until next time, I'm Ian Farrer, this is the Industry Angel, and thanks for listening.